Myth and reality, the Roman-Germanic Wars. The Roman-Germanic Wars, spanning centuries, are steeped in myth and legend, often obscuring the nuanced realities of the conflict. These wars have been romanticized in both Roman and Germanic traditions, creating a tapestry of tales that blend historical events with symbolic narratives. By disentangling myth from reality, we can better understand the true impact of this transformative struggle. Myths of the Roman-Germanic Wars. 1. The myth of the barbarian horde. The myth. Roman sources often depicted the Germanic tribes as chaotic, uncivilized hordes driven solely by brute force and lacking organization. The reality. While Germanic society was less centralized than Rome, tribes displayed sophisticated political and military organization. Leaders like Arminius and Theodoric the Great demonstrated strategic brilliance, forming coalitions and adopting Roman military tactics. 2. The myth of Roman invincibility. The myth. Roman propaganda presented the empire as an unstoppable force, bringing civilization to the barbaric frontiers. The reality. The ambush at Teutoburg Forest, 9 CE, and the Battle of Adrianople, 378 CE, proved Rome's vulnerability. The empire's defeats highlighted the limitations of its military power, especially against adaptable and united Germanic forces. 3. The myth of Teutoburg as a final victory. The myth. The Germanic victory at Teutoburg Forest is often portrayed as the definitive end of Roman ambitions in Germania. The reality. While the defeat halted Rome's eastward expansion, Germanicus' subsequent campaigns, 14 to 16 CE, inflicted significant losses on the tribes. Rome retained influence along the Rhine, maintaining it as a fortified frontier. 4. The myth of total destruction. The myth. Popular narratives suggest that Rome's fall was solely the result of Germanic invasions that obliterated Roman civilization. The reality. The decline of the Western Roman Empire was due to a combination of internal and external factors, including economic instability, political fragmentation, and reliance on Germanic federates. Many Germanic tribes preserved and adapted Roman institutions, ensuring the survival of its legacy. Reality. The complex dynamics of the wars. 1. Cultural exchange and adaptation. The Roman-Germanic Wars were not purely destructive. They were a period of intense cultural exchange. Germanic adoption of Roman practices. Germanic leaders, like Theodoric the Great, adopted Roman administrative structures to govern their territories effectively. Roman coinage, architecture, and legal traditions influenced Germanic societies. Roman adaptation to Germanic influence. Rome incorporated Germanic soldiers into its military as auxiliaries and federates, adopting their cavalry tactics and guerrilla warfare methods. 2. Shifting power dynamics. The wars were defined by a gradual transition of power from Rome to the Germanic tribes. Early Roman dominance. Rome initially sought to subjugate and assimilate the Germanic tribes, establishing the Rhine and Danube as defensive boundaries. Rise of Germanic kingdoms. By the 5th century, tribes like the Visigoths, Ostrogoths, and Franks had established independent kingdoms, often within former Roman territories. 3. Strategic and tactical realities. The Roman-Germanic Wars showcased innovative strategies and tactics on both sides. Roman fortifications. The Limes Germanicus was a testament to Roman engineering, serving as both a military and administrative frontier. Germanic guerrilla warfare. The Germanic tribes used their knowledge of the dense forests and rugged terrain to ambush and outmaneuver Roman legions. Key figures in myth and reality. 1. Arminius, Hermann the Liberator. The myth. Celebrated in German nationalism as a heroic liberator who decisively defeated Rome. The reality. Arminius was a former Roman ally who used his knowledge of Roman tactics to unite the tribes temporarily. His leadership at Teutoburg Forest was significant, but his influence waned after his death in tribal conflicts. 2. Julius Caesar. The myth. Caesar's campaigns against the Germanic tribes, particularly during the Gallic Wars, are often depicted as triumphs of civilization over barbarism. The reality. Caesar's victories were tactical and opportunistic, aimed at securing political prestige. His encounters with Germanic tribes were part of a broader strategy to solidify Roman control in Gaul. 3. Theodoric the Great. The myth, often idealized as a unifier of Roman and Germanic traditions, ruling Italy as a benevolent king. The reality, Theodoric skillfully blended Roman governance with Germanic leadership, but his reign also faced challenges in maintaining loyalty among diverse populations. Symbolism and legacy. The Roman-Germanic Wars left a deep symbolic legacy, influencing how both Romans and Germanic peoples viewed themselves and each other. 1. Germania as a symbol of resistance. Roman writers like Tacitus idealized Germania as a land of pure and uncorrupted freedom, contrasting it with Rome's perceived decadence. This romanticized view influenced later European thinkers, particularly during the 19th century nationalist movements. 2. Rome as the beacon of civilization. Rome portrayed itself as the bringer of order and progress, even in the face of defeats. This narrative endured, with the Roman Church and later the Holy Roman Empire claiming continuity with Rome's legacy. Epilogue. A fusion of myth and reality. The Roman-Germanic Wars were not just a clash of arms but a crucible of cultural transformation. The myths surrounding these wars have often overshadowed their nuanced realities, but both perspectives reveal the enduring influence of this historical conflict. The Germanic tribes did not merely destroy Rome. They inherited and transformed its legacy, blending their traditions with Roman culture to create the foundations of medieval Europe. The Roman Empire, though militarily challenged, left an indelible mark on Germanic societies, shaping their governance, religion, and legal systems. The myth of Roman moral superiority. The myth, Roman sources portrayed the empire as the bringer of civilization, law, and progress to the barbaric, untamed Germanic tribes. The reality, Roman expansion was as much about resource extraction and political control as it was about spreading civilization. The imposition of Roman law and taxation often sparked resistance among Germanic tribes, who valued their independence and traditional customs. 2. The myth of a unified Germanic identity. The myth, modern nationalist movements, particularly in 19th century Germany, cast the Germanic tribes as a united front against Roman oppression. The reality, Germanic tribes were highly fragmented and often fought among themselves. Unity, such as that achieved under Arminius during the Teutoburg forest ambush, was temporary and driven by immediate threats rather than long-term political cohesion. 3. The myth of the eternal Roman victory. The myth, Roman historiography emphasized the inevitability of Roman triumph, minimizing defeats and exaggerating successes to maintain the image of imperial supremacy. The reality, Roman defeats, such as those at Teutoburg Forest and Adrianople, were devastating and often reshaped the empire's strategies and ambitions. These losses highlighted Rome's vulnerabilities and dependence on adapting to new threats. 4. The myth of barbarian destruction. The myth, the fall of the Western Roman Empire, is often blamed solely on the Germanic tribes, portrayed as destroyers of civilization. The reality, the collapse was the result of a combination of internal and external factors, including political instability, economic decline, and over-reliance on federate armies. Many Germanic tribes, such as the Ostrogoths and Franks, preserved and adapted Roman institutions, ensuring their continuity. Cultural realities, blending traditions. The Roman-Germanic Wars were not only a series of violent clashes, but also a period of profound cultural interaction that reshaped both societies. 1. The spread of Roman infrastructure. Roman engineering, including roads, bridges, and aqueducts, influenced Germanic territories. Tribes that settled within the empire inherited and maintained this infrastructure. Germanic leaders, like Theodoric the Great, used Roman administrative systems to govern effectively, blending Roman and tribal practices. 2. Religious transformation. The Christianization of the Germanic tribes marked a significant cultural shift. The adoption of Christianity was not just a spiritual change but also a political strategy to align with the Roman Church. Clovis I's conversion, 496 c. His baptism unified the Franks and strengthened their ties to Roman traditions, setting a precedent for other Germanic kingdoms. 3. Language and literature. The blending of Latin and Germanic languages created the foundations for many modern European languages, such as French, Spanish, and German. Germanic oral traditions, including epic tales and myths, influenced medieval literature, blending with Roman storytelling traditions to produce works like Beowulf and the Arthurian legends. The role of symbolism in shaping perception. Both Rome and Germania cultivated symbols and narratives to justify their actions and inspire their people. These symbols endure in modern interpretations of the Roman-Germanic Wars. 1. Germania as the land of freedom. Roman authors like Tacitus idealized Germania as a land of purity and freedom, untouched by the decadence of civilization. This romanticized image influenced later thinkers during the Enlightenment and 19th century nationalist movements. In reality, Germania was a region of diverse tribes with complex social structures and competing interests, not the unified bastion of liberty described by Tacitus. 2. The eagle and the wolf. The Roman eagle symbolized order, power, and imperial ambition, while the Germanic wolf often represented freedom, wildness, and resistance. These symbols reflected the ideological divide between the two civilizations. Over time, the adoption of Roman symbols by Germanic kingdoms, such as the Holy Roman Empire's use of the eagle, symbolized the blending of these identities.